Well, I just decided to kind of relist all the videos on my channel because I have officially entered my no fucks 40s. It took me a little while. I'm 43 and a half. And I had heard my friends talk about like no fucks 40s when I was like in my 30s, and I was like, that sounds really nice. And then the last few years, it's crossed my mind a few times, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm there. I don't know if I'm ever really gonna be there. But I'm so happy it's finally happening because I'm tired of caring what people think, and I'm certainly tired of feeling like I have to be respectable and digestible. It's really gotten me nowhere that I have aimed to get. And this video is for you if you also have felt like you have to be respectable and digestible. I want to be a voice in your ear no matter how old you are. That like, you don't have to do that shit. Because the best things in the world, I think, have come out of people that are not really concerned with how digestible they are or how respectable they are. And that stuff is such nonsense anyway. I mean, it is a product of colonialism. It is a product of whiteness. It is a product of straightness. Like, but at the same time, like, we all get influenced by it to some degree or another, in some way or another. For me, I think I went from very much living this life of not caring because I really didn't have very much at stake, and I was also not particularly stable or authentically happy. I mean, I had lots of good times, and I did a lot of cool things in my younger life that I'm still proud of, by the way. Like, I don't think that should be obscured. I'm still proud of a lot of the work that I did as a performer and as an artist when I was younger, and the nonprofit work I've done. And, I've done a lot of really cool things, but I also was not a very stable person. I was up and down and all over the place all the time. And so I kind of like maintained a life where I didn't have a ton to lose. If you are one of those people that happen to know me back in the day, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And then it was in my like early 30s when I had a kid and I got cancer and had to like come like right face to face with my own mortality in a way that was different. And it was such a gift, honestly, which, if you've known people that have survived cancer, you might have heard that before, but I think to people who haven't been exposed to that, it sounds kind of weird, because in a lot of ways, cancer is what saved my life and gave me a new life and motivated me to build something different. And I'm so grateful for that, even though it was a hard experience, and even though it left me with some difficulties and some things that I will continue to deal with. But I don't have cancer, by the way. Like, I'm good in that regard. But I do have to take exogenous hormones, which is like also whatever. That's like its own whole video on transness and hormones and all of that. If you guys want to hear that video, let me know in the comments and I'll try and make it. But it was through that experience of like having to get real with myself about, how was I living my life, which was, I was like taking care of my kid, but then I was still like weekend warrioring when I didn't have my kid. And, I was still taking psychedelics and all the unstable sort of lifestyle things I had built into my life when I was younger. So I just hadn't really committed to getting stable and So I hadn't really committed to like getting stable and being healthy. And then from there, I started getting stable. I like got good at it, right? Like I got stable. I was like, I had like some shitty jobs for a little while, but then I started like consulting and I started coaching and I got into all these business and marketing things. And, you know, in those spaces, like they really, really want you to be like respectable and digestible, especially digestible, because, you know, if you're running a business, then you have to like have a niche and you have to do all this XYZ stuff for marketing. And I just like, I wish I would have known to just say like fuck that, but I didn't, because I was trying to do things differently, and like that was how I had approached things before. It was just like fuck that, like I'm going to do it my own way. And you know, it's kind of funny to think that like in some ways my old attitude was more correct than the one I tried to take on as I was like starting my business and everything, because as soon as I started to try and box myself in, part of me just shut down, because I don't function like that. Like I do too many things. I love knowledge. I love learning. I also love my work. Like I love doing trauma recovery with people, especially people who have been through like really difficult things. I like doing work with people who have experience doing like spicy labor. I like doing work with people who have had really intense trauma and are at a place in their life where they are able to like process some of that. And the kind of work that I do is really special because it doesn't just change the way you think, it changes the way your brain fires. But I couldn't like figure out how to say all that stuff, because I had all these voices in my ears telling me like, you have to be digestible and niche down, you have to be respectable, like don't look too edgy. Like I had this kind of stuff said to me. And then of course at the same time, like I'm thinking of the person that said that to me, like totally like put me on blast as like their trans client so that they could like look very diverse. That was super weird. But, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is that as I got more stable, I started to feel like I had things to lose. And, oh, who's calling me? As I got more stable, I started to feel like I had things to lose. And the result of that was that I just went into this like sort of like automaton mode where I was like, okay, I have things to lose, therefore I must be respectable and digestible so that I don't have things to lose. So that I won't lose the things that I have. But like I think I didn't realize that it's like I had the things that I had, and I was getting stable the way that I was, in part because of everything that I had done and been through. It was just like a new angle on it. It was like a new facet on it. But I had kind of let myself get gaslit by not just society. There were voices in my life that were beyond the coaches that were benefiting from me thinking about myself negatively. And you know, that exists, that's real. There are people out there that will happily benefit off of our misery. And you know, I've had to learn some of that the hard way. And now I have much better boundaries, and that's great, and I'm really grateful for that. But it's taken me a long time to see now that like I don't need to do that. Like I don't need to try and box myself in. I can still love doing what I love. I can still love my work, and I can still be all the things that I am, and do all the things I like to do, which don't fit neatly into some package. Like, I mean, the only common thread maybe through everything I do is that there is some type of art to almost everything I do. But even that, it's like it looks so different that it's not very algorithmable. This is a word I just made up. I hope you like it. And I I wanted to make this video because I got onto my YouTube channel that I'm posting this on, and I saw that like sometime, I don't even remember when, but I had like made all of my videos private, and I so I just undid that because I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to like section myself off. I don't even know exactly what I'm doing next, but I know that it's not that, you know, it's not gonna be this thing where only part of me is going to be visible. I really want to bring my full self to everything I'm doing. I want to bring my full self to my content. I want to bring my full self to the work that I do with people. I want to bring my full self to my music, to my video, to the art that I make. I'm hoping I'm going to start performing again because my body is doing better these days. And, you know, I want to bring my full self to that. So I don't think that any of us should keep sacrificing parts of ourselves in order to look a certain way or because we're afraid of losing something. I understand that that's not always accessible. And that's been really real for me in some of the situations I've been in over the last decade but at the same time, you know, I'm not saying for anybody else, but for myself, I like look back on like the places where I've perceived myself as like having to be a certain way because of external circumstances. And I am kind of at the point where I'm questioning how real that was. You know, it felt very real. The consequences were very real. And at the same time, like, I may have been better off just doing me and being me. I mean, there's no way to know, right? Like you can't go back in time and redo it. So here we are, you know, I'm 43 and a half. I'll be 44 in February. And I'm super excited for 44. 44 feels like, I don't know, my birthday is like 2/22. So like 44 feels like maybe it'll be like this like magnification of the triple twos. If I'm being like weird and numerological, but I'm excited. I'm excited that I'm finally feeling like myself again. I'm finally, even though I have stuff to lose, I'm not going to edit anymore. Like, well, I'll edit videos, but like I'm not going to edit myself anymore. And yeah, I encourage you to do the same to your fullest extent. And hey, if you want support doing that, like I'm here, I do that. That is my job. Even though it's been a little while since I've been doing my job with full force, because honestly, because I think it wasn't possible for me to sustain doing the kind of work that I do with people when I'm editing myself, because it really does take a lot of energy and a lot of intention to do the kind of work that I do, which I'm happy to talk about more, and I will probably make more videos on it. And you know, there's lots of things I want to talk about. If there's things you want to hear me talk about, or if you like this video, please let me know in the comments. I love external validation. I don't need it, but I do love it. And I love you, and I hope that we can keep hanging out. All right, I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.